The first question I would like to discuss is actually the last one on the page. We are talking all the time about m-payment. Is it really about m-payment? Is an m-payment business case for you, René, attractive? For a bank alone attractive? For a single player or the top player attractive? Or does it have to be more as an m-payment? Other use cases that come along with m-payment that will make the business cases attractive? René, probably first question to you.
I think, first of all, the business cases look attractive now, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. Secondly, I think it will open a whole different types of cross-service capabilities and loyalty programs. And, you know, I'll give you an example. Insurance, just off the top of my head. Many of us buy insurance on an annual basis. We don't buy insurance on a monthly basis. But with the technology that we have collectively, you can buy insurance for a day or for an hour. That's a disruptive move. And I think you're just going to see a whole different type of ecosystems develop where you actually tailor services to the customer. And clearly the transaction of that service is at the core of the future.
Okay. So when you talk about couponing, loyalty programs, I mean, there would be a phrase, I would use the phrase m-commerce, mobile commerce for that. But more interesting what you said is insurances. Does it mean banks will be, or financial service institutes, I should rather say, will be further marginalized if you start to offer insurances or even credits via an m-payment platform? David, is that the future that will come?
Well, I don't know about that side of the equation, but you know, I talked about user experience before, and I really think, you know, it might shock people, but it's not about payments. It's really not, especially if you go offline. It is not about payments. It's really about solving real customer pain points. And you know, coupons, loyalty. If you take an example, today, if you're in the US and you download the Starbucks app, you can pay with PayPal and load up your card. Automatically, you know, add that if you've got, you know, an iOS 5 phone, you can add that to iOS 6 platform, you can add that to your passbook. And the reason people do that is not because they like scanning a QR code instead of swiping, it's just because the rewards are applied automatically, they get their free coffees automatically. And so the use case here is rewards, it's not payments.
Yes.
And people who solely focus on payments offline will fail.
Yeah. And that was actually the reason why I asked. I mean, you have a platform that enables much more, right? It enables better connection with customers. It allows you really to support any kind of m-commerce activities, exactly as I said. I'd like to get Markus' view quickly on this financial service topic, because I'm really quite curious. We don't have a banking representative on the stage here. But I know that, for example, your colleagues in the UK, René, they do look into further banking activities. I know also that banks are trying to regain actually space in this payment trend. There are many consortia actually in Sweden, in Turkey, around banks, France as well, of course, US as well. So do we see a chance for financial service institutes to play a role? Markus, you have a broad overview of all industries. Any perspective from you?
Let me first say, as we fully own a German bank, Wirecard Bank, there is a bank representative on the stage, so to say. I would say, I would fully agree with what Mr. Schuster said before. I would say that, yes, I think the banks have, of course, the big advantage of having a large existing portfolio of cards. It's that simple, and to some extent, they are the incumbent in many services. I think here in the developed world, I would definitely say that currently we see much more dynamics, for example, from the telcos and from some large-scale internet companies. And I think you must invest today. And of course, many banks are currently more in a restructuring phase. So they are not so open for new business models. And I think there's a second element to that. The telcos today own the SIM card. And when we come to NFC technology, today in Europe, it's mainly SIM card centric and not hardware centric. So I think definitely the telcos have a big advantage, and they own, let's say, the consumer in a way that is already quite convenient in terms of the know your customer challenges that bank regulations have to provide. So I think the telcos currently in Europe have a very good chance to show much more dynamics than we saw it from the large retail banks. In emerging markets, it's a little bit different. In emerging markets, I think generally, again, the cash society, bring the cash society into let's say, at least a basic stored value account and into a money remittance process. Is, let's say, the low-hanging fruit and the killer app. But also there, all major initiatives are currently done by telcos. Behind M-Pesa, we know it's the largest telco of the area. So yeah, I think that currently we see a lot of activities by telcos and the large players of internet.
Okay, René, I know if you want to say something on that.
I'd like to bring up a point I think that you brought up in your presentation, in your speak, which is, I think a very important element is emerging markets. Believe it or not, some emerging markets are far ahead of the Western world, and I think there's some really insights there. For instance, my company specifically, we know that we're very strong in Latin America. There's 500 million people in Latin America. 30% of Latin American citizens have a bank account. Mobile penetration in Latin America is in the high 80s, low 90s. So you're dealing with an access platform, and I think it's something that you said. It's an access platform that actually gives you a relationship with a potential customer. And I think that's the interesting dynamics that will play into this. Where's it going to go from here?
Absolutely.
Just on the financial services side of things, I just want to add something because I agree that emerging markets are huge areas of opportunity, but just in the developed markets, there's just such a huge opportunity. And PayPal is licensed as a bank in Europe as well, in Luxembourg. And a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, we acquired a company called Bill Me Later. That does credit de facto to millions of customers, and we have a multi-billion-dollar loan portfolio in developed markets. And I think in terms of innovation on how you can provide financial flexibility to consumers, and in turn how you can help small businesses notably offer financial flexibility just to increase their sales, we've seen amazing things, right? So this past holiday season, we've launched a product that enabled small businesses that sold highly priced items. There was one, it was a $700 blender, better be good. And they offered installments for free for 6 months, and they grew their sales by 20% overnight just by enabling that. So, there's just a lot of innovation that is going to come from financial innovation inside of those experiences going forward.
I fully agree. But now I would like also to get your perspective, David, on the geographical differences. I mean, we mentioned Latin America. I don't know the well, but probably also an underbanked region, geography, for sure in Africa, right? Asia is the same, I guess, or part of Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the like. With PayPal, what kind of different trends do you see per geography? And just add another question, as a consequence, would you actually even believe that the developed markets, Europe, US, are disadvantaged to move fast to a payment platform?
Well, I think, someone asked, it was on the advertising panel earlier, what's the percentage of, internet traffic on web and mobile? In developing markets, mobile has already surpassed fixed web, right? So I think there's a huge opportunity for us. What we're trying to do, we're trying to partner with a lot of telcos in those regions. So notably in Brazil, we're partnering with Vivo. And the way we partner is that Vivo is trying to move more of the top-up volume off of the retail channel because it's more costly. So we've created a system that enables them to create PayPal accounts on the fly for those customers, and then once they have that account in Brazil, they can shop at all of the stores that accept PayPal as well. And we've seen that the auto-enroll of credentials into a PayPal account and partnering with telcos to work really, really well in those regions.
Okay, so when I understand you correctly, David, you're saying the telcos are playing an important role to really make that happen, this fast movement in a payment platform. On my slide, I have also the examples Japan, Korea, and we all know NT-Docomo, I don't recall exactly when, but quite early they introduced the Felica platform, which is a quite successful payment platform, of course. So, once again, will we see geographical differences and have different geographical standards as a consequence, or will it be finally a global standard? Markus, probably you have a perspective.
I give it a try, and my colleagues may add. Yes, I definitely would say that the door opener element is different. I think there is something that is, let's say, globally the same low-hanging fruit. I would generally say cash transactions in both in developed and in emerging markets are low-hanging fruit. So we discussed before that in Germany, 80% are cash transactions. I would say in all over Europe, probably it's still over 60–70%. So, and this softens also a little bit the discussion whether only telcos or banks have the chance. I think the first low-hanging fruit are definitely bringing more small ticket-sized transactions from cash into the electronic ecosystem, and this will help everybody of us. This is a good thing for everybody in the food chain. I think the differences definitely will be on the value-added services side. So I think the value-added services, as we discussed before in emerging markets, will more play around financial products because the infrastructure isn't there, and it's the first basic infrastructure to give perhaps microfinancing as an additional element, or to give payroll processing in some way or the other in an electronic way, or to give, let's say, a loan. So I think in the emerging markets, the value-added services definitely will play in this area. Again, in our environment, it will be more about couponing, loyalty. I think from a technology side, of course, in the emerging markets, as we don't find many smartphones today, but it's mainly legacy phones, it will be services around SMS and USSD as a technology standard in the first place, versus in the emerging worlds, I see, of course, NFC as behind NFC, not only the big telcos are standing, but also Google Wallet and the big credit card companies. I definitely would say NFC will be an important standard. I see QR code as a niche technology and a bridge technology in some areas, and that's perhaps a subjective judgment from my side.
So on the NFC point, I have kind of a contrarian point of view, and I believe that I don't think it solves any problem. I think it's just a technology in search for a solution, the technology in search for a problem to solve. But you're actually, all of the experiences that I shared before, not waiting for your waiter to check out, ordering your Jamba Juice before you get there, NFC would prohibit those types of experiences because you have to tap your phone at the physical place inside of the store. And I think it just took too long to take off just because of the ecosystem around it. And it's like, it's a generation behind already, I think. We're just going to skip the NFC bandwagon and go straight to location-based payments.
Okay. Probably you might want to say something about this. I would be also curious, it's of course an important point, but I would be curious, René, to understand whether Telefonica is aiming for global standards. You're a kind of global company, well, as much as you can be as a telco. So, those two questions.
I think the answer is eventually, but not right away, because I think the name of the game is speed. I think it's all about being an entrepreneur, which these colleagues are. The fantastic companies are out there, and it's all about speed. It's all about getting the word out. It's all about understanding the customer experience and understanding what does the customer want next.
Yes.
From that, maybe standards could develop. I think sometimes, certainly the telco industry spent way too much time focusing on standards and then missing the point. And I think this is all about consumer behavior, this is all about mass market, and this is all about speed.
Okay, I mean, now we're entering an important discussion where I would like to get your views. I'm convinced we all know it's about really understanding customer needs. Exactly right, René. Now, we have at least those 4 players that are trying to really define standards and be dominant players. We have the telcos, we have the over-the-top players, we do have financial service players, and eventually we do have retailers. So, who has the DNA to be fast enough to drive a standard or to develop the dominant platform?
I think whoever cracks the customer experience to be seamless, secure, and fast will win, whatever technology that is.
And who is this? Who will it be?
Well, I have a point of view on that, but
I guess I know it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but you know, for me, that for the entire sector, it's of course a very fascinating question, and we have been debating that for long. So, is it only about really understanding customer needs, or does it also, or let me ask differently: what's a critical success factor? Understanding consumers. What about scale? Is scale important? Global scale, or will we live as regional sub-platforms? Markus, you have a view on that.
Yeah, I would answer your question in, I wouldn't say there is a single winner. I think it will be winning partnerships of the fittest. I think you need 3 core assets. You need an access to the consumer in a way that is, let's say, compliant with bank regulations. You must do this know your customer thing. I think here the telcos have a good grip. I think there's a second element. Many products that come out now will be based on prepaid cards, prepaid Master and Visa cards, open loop products. Over that, you get the merchant, and that's the third element. You need broad access to the merchant. So I personally do not really believe in proprietary products where you have to add a new acceptance point beside of, let's say, Visa, MasterCard, and existing direct debit to the point of sale, because that's a lot of investment by the merchant. He has to change a lot of processes. So I think the best partnerships are those that really bring these elements in a way to the table that they build on as many of existing banking infrastructure as possible. In the emerging countries, of course, it's different because there you don't have a banking infrastructure. So there you can really come up with something from scratch. And that's perhaps, let's say, some advantage in terms of leapfrogging technologies in the emerging markets. But here, I think you have to build at as many elements as possible that are already out there. For example, Visa and MasterCard acceptance points at the merchant.
Okay, I must still say I'm getting nervous when I think about many partnerships and many players in this ecosystem because of the complexity. I mean, that's something we have seen for a long, long time, and it didn't work out. So now, David, you have to tell us, why do you believe it will be the PayPals and the like who will succeed finally?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Talking about the complexity of dealing with partnerships, and forget the not solving a real world problem with NFC. The problem in the rollout was that everybody wanted to control it, right? So you have carriers wanting to control the secure elements, the handset manufacturers wanting to have some sort of control, and now they're mad because they built those chips and they've shipped so many phones and there's no traction. You've got companies like Google and others who wanted some control and didn't get carriers' blessing. And then you've got the device manufacturers on the other side, on the merchant side, that need to adopt the standard as well. So it's very complicated to put that ecosystem together. And the reason I feel we're really uniquely positioned is because we control the end-to-end system, right? We have merchants that are our customers. We have consumers that are our customers. We don't have banks in the middle. Right now, you can use any funding source, but we have a direct customer relationship at both ends of the spectrum. And we control every single pixel of the user experience or every single moment of the user experience offline. And so, when you line all of these things up, you see that, and we have scale. And, if you look at all of these things and you bring them together, you see that, we're in a unique place to innovate and create those delightful consumer experiences that you talked about earlier sooner. And I agree with you, it's all about speed and rolling out those innovations at scale globally.
Mm. And in addition, I would say you probably have more of an innovation DNA or of an entrepreneurial DNA than a classical bank has for given reasons. But René, any perspective on that point? I mean, in the telecom industry, it has been a discussion for many, many years. Is this actually something telcos should aspire to be really a dominant player and own the standard and own the customer interface, or is it something?
So, clearly we have a different slant, although I think there's general alignment on many, many topics, but our vision is very, very clear, and it's very, very practical. Today, all of us here, we left today our house, our hotel, with 3 items: your wallet, your keys, and your money, right? All those 3 things will be integrated in your handset. Your handset, smartphones of the future, will become the remote control of your life. It'll be whatever you want it to be. And I think because that will be just a key item for us, it becomes the platform for many, many other things. Whether it's NFC technology or other technology, I think the technology is less the concern. It's real about the ease of use and really understanding that it's simple to use and it's secure. And I think that's where the partnerships should focus.
Okay. Very interesting statement, René, and I fully share your vision. But now the important question, and then I would like to end the panel, but what do you think, and I would like to get the view from all three of you, when will this future happen? Is it a future in 2 years' time? Do we have to wait for the next 10 years? So give us a quick snapshot what you believe, what the speed will be towards this development. Markus, why didn't start? Time is over, but I would like to get your views.
I would say that the point-of-sale payment industry will see in the next 3 years more dramatic changes than it saw in the last 20 to 30 years. My estimate would definitely be very similar to what Mr. Schuster said. I think starting from 2014, we'll see the first more significant volume, and 2015 going forward, it will be a tremendous change.
Okay, so quite new, quite recent actually. René, you support the view?
Absolutely agree. It's not a light switch, but it'll be a very slow burn. But the date that is my gut is 2014, 2015.
Yeah, my point of view is that in the US, from our point of view, the experiences that I talked about will start gaining mass adoption in the next 18 months or so. We'll start seeing that in the areas we're going to focus. We announced a partnership with NCR earlier last week at NRF that is going to roll out those types of experiences in tens of thousands of stores. We have a partnership with Discover that will roll out experiences in millions of stores in the next 12 to 18 months. And then the next stage for us is going to be bringing that innovation to Europe. So add another 18 months to that, and we hope that we can create those types of experiences in Europe as well.
We're looking forward to that. One thing is clear, we're going to see a lot of money flowing to the payment topic. We see that already now and will continue for obvious reasons. So there will be a lot of interesting development to follow. I think we have only touched on at the surface of this development. I'm grateful for your perspectives. Markus, René, David, thanks for your contributions, and I wish you a nice conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.